I've got the man.
Sam, do you want to just say something in the mic and just make sure we can pick it up?
Testing 1, 2.
That's picking up. Great stuff. Excellent.
Shall we make a start then? Right, hello, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate your attendance. It's an informal event, it's not an official hustings. We've had questions emailed in to the candidates and I've got them here. They haven't seen them, it's in my secret notebook. So what you can expect from tonight is that I will put the questions to the candidates and give them a 90-second answer. We can have an intro and a bit about them, 90 seconds. I will time you and I will be strict. I will cut you off if you go over time because everybody needs to have the same time. And we've got a couple of people have got questions from the floor, which we would encourage. Slips of paper, Karen was in charge of outside. If you have the questions, this is my secret stash over here. I'm having to speak louder. So if you write the questions on the piece of the paper, Karen has them there, and just hand them to me and I'll put them here. And once I've gone through the email questions, I'll pick out the best of your questions from the floor, which we thought was quite a good and transparent process. People had the chance to email in and you've got the chance tonight. Put them on the spot. But the first thing I want to do, if people can turn the phones off for this, is I want to do a minute silence. Past decades-long years of activism with all the great causes, particularly around animal rights. So if you can put your phones on silent for this 1 minute, I am going to start it now. You can stand. Rest in power. Okay, let's begin the evening then. So first of all, we'll just go from Michael down to Sam with this one because it's an intro. We've got 90 seconds. Just give a bit of your background, why you're standing, and your unique skill set. Linked to
Unique skill
the party campaigning in the candidate. You've got a copy. Okay. Okay, thanks, Michael.
Okay, good evening, comrades. My name is Michael Lavalette. I'm a Lancashire County Councillor, and I've been a local councillor for now 13 years. I've got 2 more years before I'm up for re-election. All of that time based in Preston. I think I'm unique in British politics because I was first elected in 2003, and at that point I stood for something called Socialist Alliance Against the War. And then 4 years later, when I came up for re-election, Socialist Alliance was merged into part of Respect. So I was then a Respect councillor, so that was 2 parties, 2 elections, 2 parties. I then was up for re-election, and of course, like I'm sure we all know, on the left, Respect had a massive fallout at that time. So I stood for something called Left List, which was a bit bizarre because I was the only candidate, there was no list, and I lost that election in 2011. The following year, I was persuaded to stand again, and I stood this time as Tusk, and I got re-elected. And then after that, I thought, that's it, I've done my bit, never doing it again, until obviously the horrors of Gaza. And when I was organising the demonstrations of Preston, almost from the very first one, people came up to me and said, you've got to stand in the elections. We were talking about the general election, and I said, you must be joking, there's no way that's going to happen. But of course, they persuaded me to do that, so I stood then as a Preston Independent. That was my 5th election, 4th different title, and we got 2nd in the general election, 22% we got, and I'm now an independent.
You ready, Ron?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Ron Cooper. I'm from Skelmersdale. I'm a member of Unite, community activist, an ex-Labour councillor, and the former CLP secretary, a Democrat and a socialist, which is why I'm not in Labour anymore. I'm standing for the CEC to ensure that we have a member-led party. I believe the role of the CEC is not to develop policies, it's to lay the framework for policies to be discussed and developed by the members in the branches. So the first thing the CEC needs to do is get the branches up and running. We don't want laws passed down from above. We need the CEC to set the procedures in place for decisions to come from the grassroots. We also need to investigate the sabotage of Corbyn, I would say, and show that we're a strong party and we won't stand to be kicked around again. A number of these saboteurs, Mandelson, have been rewarded with seats in the House of Lords, and we definitely need to abolish that place.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. I'm standing for the CEC mainly because after a lifetime of political activity, from being about 18 years old, I'm a lot older now, mainly within Labour, and without Labour around single issues. I truly believe that your party is and might be the only viable electoral party going forward, which can possibly aim to sustain and improve the welfare state, public services, and very importantly, take an anti-war of aggression stance and stop arms sales to Israel and other oppressive regimes, so that we're never again supporting a genocide. The only hope I see for this country, really, going forward electorally for the country and for my 5 grandchildren, and that's why I'm standing, because I think it's really important that we get it right, and if we don't, we've got the right and reform everything else. I've been politically active, as I say, all my life in the Labour Party and without. I've been in the NUT and in Unison. I also feel I've got the skill set for this because, as Ron said, it's really a totally organisational job. Everyone's getting carried away with our politics. And this is actually a job to organise and get sorted out and sort the party out and get it set up. Get the branches sorted, get the money down, get the communications going. And my fear is that we desperately need, just as was passed at conference, it's supposed to be member-led, and we've got saints, and it's going to imply everything.
Speak directly, hold the microphone as close as you can. Please tell me when you're ready, Kiara. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Kiara. I do outreach and community support for multiple organisations in the Wirral, Liverpool, Chester area. But I have actually outreached from even further afield. I feel like if people can reach me, then I can reach them back. I didn't have any political aspirations, but in May 2023, I was persuaded to stand as the Labour candidate for Birkenhead and Tranmere. We didn't campaign that well, actually, because I think Labour thought that it was my first time and we weren't going to win. But they saw how much affection and trust there was for me. And in the last few weeks, they actually thought we might win, even without campaigning. We didn't win. I think it was a blessing in disguise, because then October happened and I tried to speak with the Labour leadership that we shouldn't be supporting a genocide. It was very obvious very early on that they weren't interested in the membership. So I left as publicly as I could, end of October 2023, joined the Greens as publicly as I could for whatever it was worth. But I wasn't persuaded to stand as a councillor or an MP with the Greens. But I was, as soon as Your Party came along, I knew that was the right move for all of us. Thank you.
Discussing. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm Jenny. I'm from Coombe, Lancashire. Quick whistle-stop tour about me and how I see Your Party and the CEC. I definitely bought into Your Party as a member-led mass movement. I think we're all bought into that. We want to stop people from telling us what to do and start telling them what to do, which is very good for me because that's pretty my personality. One vote, one member, one vote. Branch-led, I think the branch is going to be in the bedrock of the party. They should be inclusive and accessible so that people who want to take part can do. It's going to be a new way of doing politics. It's going to be bottom up, not top down, I hope. And also the campaigning, as well as electoral activity, I think is going to be a really interesting way to go. But most important, I want to see Your Party making a real difference to people's lives. If I was on the CEC, I think I'd be with everybody else saying that establishing branches is one of the first things we have to do. And because of the time sensitivity, we then have to think about the May election strategy. But we'd also want to be building communication and transparency into what the work of the CEC, because so far, I'll just be kind and say it's been a little bit lacking, but thank you volunteers for doing all that. Establish organised sections, nice little structures so that people can get on with the work of doing it, and building trust, because a lot of that has been lost. Thank you.
I'm ready. Yeah. So, hi everyone. everyone, I'm Helen Collins. I'm a committed feminist and anti-fascist grassroots campaigner with a deep passion for intersectionality. This includes fighting misogyny, supporting trans rights and ensuring that the issues affecting marginalised communities are recognised and treated as the urgent grassroots issues that they are class issues. My activism is rooted in real-world campaigns that have taught tangible change, and that's taught me a lot about being a comrade and standing at the grassroots. In 2017, I was part of the campaign group that lobbied for the homeless shelter, and we went on to campaign successfully against hostile architecture as well. Living with a disability and chronic illness, I'm focused on prioritising accessibility in policy, planning and decision making, because justice that is only accessible to some isn't justice at all, it's privilege extended. If elected, I'd harness the support of our community to be a representative, sorry, I can't speak today, that fights for change and can transform conditions for our class as part of that collective. And regardless of whether I get elected or not, to be honest, I'll be doing that at the grassroots. So.
Yeah, so this has been a long journey for me. I'm Sam Ghost. I'm a councillor in Garston Ward in Liverpool. Previously Labour, suspended 3 times, change of circumstance interview, and then expelled. But it's a badge of honour, really. So yeah, I joined Labour on the 28th of July 2015, basically to ensure that Corbyn was on the ballot paper and to kind of fight for his ideas and his manifesto that came about in 2017. My partner at the time gave birth to our daughter, and I wanted a lot more for her in life. Things that I didn't get, but I wanted her to have. So yeah, that was part of the reason that I joined Labour, and I fought for Corbyn and that skullduggery that he's faced every step of the way. So yeah, basically I wanted a better life for my daughter, and a movement that exists for the working class, not just for itself. So yeah, I'm standing here today because I think that the CEC needs an injection of stability and an anti-division stance, and I think people have let the ego get in the way, and I really want to steer away from that kind of politics, really.
So, if you need a copy of the question, let me know, I'll hand it to you. So thank you everyone for emailing in your questions. The first one is, how should your party rise to the challenge of the far right, in particular the likes of Reform, and should we work with the Green Party on this and other electoral and social issues? So the order is Michael first, then Sue, Sam, Helen, Clara, Jen, Ron. So Michael. Yes, please. Okay. How should your party rise to the challenge of the far right, particularly Reform, and should we work with the Green Party on this and other electoral and social issues?
Okay, so let me answer that in a couple of ways. First of all, I said I was a councillor in Lancashire County Council, and I sit with the main opposition group, which is called Progressive Lancashire. Progressive Lancashire is made up of 7 pro-Palestine independents like myself and 4 members of the Green Party, so we sit in coalition with the Greens. And I must admit that's given us no problems in terms of overall political orientation or how we work together in council. For the main opposition, we've got 11. That's because Reform got 53 at the last elections last May. So we have to challenge them in the scrutiny committees and the council, and I think we're doing that quite well. But the way that we do that is that we take that to the streets. So I want to give you an example very quickly. Lancashire County Council, Reform announced that they were going to close up to 11 daycare centres and social care centres for older people in the county. There was 3 different types of campaigns, if you like, against that. There was a local community campaign, there was Unison that tried to recruit members, and it was what was going on in the council. But what myself and the other Your Party councillors within that group, myself and Anna Shazakaz, were able to do was to argue that the 3 campaigns should be brought together We had a fantastic demonstration in Preston 3 or 4 weeks ago. Losing space and time connection here, but anyway, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Reform said nobody would come. We had 1,000 people on the streets of Preston, and what happened was on the Sunday they had an emergency meeting where the Reform councillors and the cabinet members voted in different ways. They then announced and said that they would not be closing them anymore. The cabinet said that they weren't allowed to do that, they were breaking the law. The council then came out with a different conclusion, and what we're trying to do is drive a wedge into Reform, because Reform, in my opinion, are made up of 3 different types of people: far right racist nutters, people who don't know what they're doing, and ex-Tories, and it's about how you divide them.
I'm mixing everyone up when you go to different
Oh, right.
Oh, it's so creative.
How should we rise up to defend ourselves against reform? I think getting our party built up as big and as strong as possible, and embedding it in the communities, because if we're not embedded in the communities and we're not talking to people, we can't convince people of anything. So engaging with communities and being visible, and ensuring that reform are challenged for what they are and who they are. Our local Your Party group has been doing quite a lot of sort of anti-racist things around the town. And we're going to get some coaches to the anti-racist march. I suppose that's in London on the 25th of March. Just ensure that they're challenged and people know what their politics mean and understand what will happen to the National Health Service and what they're really saying. And again, we join in things like Your Party, myself included, and Alana, and loads of us were at the Preston demo, because quite a few of those places that were going to be closed were actually in our area. So, yes, stand up and be counted, really.
Just to reiterate, you have 90 seconds, so you did have a bit longer. Sam.
Where do we start with this one? So there's 2 elements, I'd say. There's the community element, so it should be deep-rooted within the communities to show the communities that they have got socialist-minded people within the community. So what I would say is get out there, go on the market stalls, try and promote your party, try and promote the socialist ideals like I do every day as a councillor. Our newsletter, when we were in the Labour Party, was very restrictive in what you could say. You kind of didn't want to use the word socialist at all. But now, me and Lucy in Garston, we actually put socialism, and we don't care. Even if we lose votes, we're true to ourselves and principle. And hopefully, when the community sees that that word isn't bandied about or hidden, they can it can resonate with them. So yeah, we used to put gazebos on parks, deal with casework in that way, but also it's about visibility and being approachable. And we put on extra coffee mornings. Again, within the Labour Party, they felt that one surgery was enough every month. It's not enough. People want to be engaged. They want to see the local councillors. They want to see the candidates. They want to see members of their party, or a party at least doing the community activity. So it's getting them involved and giving them the empowerment to feel like they can lead. God, I haven't even finished, but yeah, strategic collaboration. With the Green Party, we should collaborate with them, not necessarily join them.
I was just shouting off that, comrades. So I feel actually really passionate about this one. I think that we need to follow the lead of organised anti-fascist groups and communities and engage in a manner that is solidarity, not taken over. People are aware of what is going on in their own communities, and it's time that we bolster that and make and keep it sustainable. We need to talk about anti-fascism as something that just is the default. All their prejudices that are thrown out at us are to divide and conquer us, aren't they? Because it's easier to theoretically have somebody to blame than to acknowledge that there's a real systemic injustice. And those are the conversations that we need to be having. We need to be challenging unconditionally. Like, it's great to go out and actively be challenging the far right, but that's the tip of the iceberg. We need to actively be challenging these microaggressions that cause these divisions, because essentially, we're a class, anything that impacts a marginalised group of us fundamentally impacts us all. I think we need to be taking it back to those conversations and organising in line with it. And policy-wise, we need to be countering all hostile anti-immigration legislation as well. Thank you.
Can you see the time now? You find put the time up. Before you do you can bring it up, there'll be questions. Ready? Yep. Okay, so how should your party rise to the challenge of the far right, and particularly reform, and should we work with the Green Party on this and other electoral and social issues?
So I think we need to offer the clear socialist alternative, because even in 2024, we knew Keir Starmer was lying, and we were trying to get people to vote Green back then because there wasn't the alternative. Now there is the possibility of creating the socialist movement that we've all been needing. So I think we need better messaging. So first of all, we need to get the party sorted. We need to get the CEC. We need to sort out the local branch. We are a credible political movement, and we need better messaging as well. Simple messaging, better messaging. And at this time when there is so much corruption on show, if we can't, use that to our advantage, then shame on us. As for working with the Greens, I think I'm glad that we're supporting Wharton and Denton to get a Green in, but we need to be clear and distinct from the Greens, even if on occasion we are supporting them in specific seats, but we want to have our own identity.
Okay, I'm going to deal with this in two parts. I'm looking at the clock here. Right, first 45 seconds. I think it's time we need to stand up and be bold and reclaim the narrative on what they're saying. They have turned the British people into miserly, mean, unkind, cruel people, and we're not that. We are kind, we are welcoming, we are neighbourly, and people need to be reminded that those are the real British values: tolerance, not hate. And I think we can reclaim that narrative by talking to people on the doorstep and saying, well, and thinking of some really interesting questions that we can ask people. Do you think this? Well, if you do, in that case, you're agreeing with us, and you're not a reform person at all. So I would want to be doing that and helping the branches to establish how they are going to do that, and suggesting scripts for them and seeing what they suggest for the scripts and what they are feeding back from the what they get on the doorsteps. Regarding the Greens, at the moment, I think working with them informally is probably a sensible thing to do. It's the pragmatic solution. We need to keep out reform and all those other hateful people. Again, I would say take the lead from that on people who are local. They know their people best. They know who is a good candidate and who isn't, and I think we should listen to them. But I do very strongly think we need to forge our own identity and become your party so that the Greens will want to join us in 2029. Thank you.
Right, thanks very much. I should have said thank you to Sam and Alice right at the start for organising this and giving us the opportunity. The rise to the challenge of the far right. The far right isn't just reform, it's the Tories and it's Labour now, and they're the ones who are pro-austerity. We need to show that we're an anti-austerity party. Labour, I think, is going to be swept away at the next set of elections, and if your party doesn't get up and running, it's going to be reform that's going to take the advantage. What we need to do is not necessarily focus on reform. We can combat their negative policies and their negative messages, but we need to put our positive socialist messages forward as well, and remind people that your party should be a democratic socialist party in the tradition that brought us the NHS, the welfare state, free education, public ownership of utilities, and habitable council housing. I think our socialist policies will be able to encourage people to vote for us. As for the Greens, I have an image of the Greens really, that they're not a socialist party. What we need to be able to do is be pragmatic, and we need to deal on a case-to-case basis.
Totally confusing. Right, so question 2. Again, thanks for sending these in. What founding principles should the CEC be built on? So the order is Helen, Ron, Kiara, Jenny, Sam, Sue, Michael. I will repeat the order and I'll repeat the question. What founding principles should the CEC be built on? Helen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear what.
Founding principles should the CEC be built on? You all got that. Speak into the microphone, hold it close, please.
Okay. So this is a really, really big question. I think for me, the standout principles are intersectionality and I forgot the word I want, and accessibility as well. I think a lot of people have previously been put off from the previous parties, such as the Labour Party, with how inaccessible the election system was. Obviously, that was deeply undemocratic. We saw sort of attacks on our comrades, and that process was complicit with it. I think in regards to founding the principles, I'm all about keeping everything accessible and acknowledging, again, intersectionality issues as the class issues that they are. I think far too much things get minimised as identity politics when actually an attack on any one of us is an attack on all of us, as I've previously said. And I think one of the ways that we dispel that is going in with the mentality that everything just is inclusive by default. I think we're so sort of caught up as a society in the divide and conquer mentality. It's like subconscious on so many levels as well. I think we need to start off with a set of policies that has that in mind.
Okay, and next one is Ron. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, thanks.
Hold the mic, please.
I think the CEC obviously needs to ensure that we're member-led and that we have our policies, principles and ideas fed up from the grassroots. The CEC needs to establish the structures that allow that framework to be in place so that members can discuss and develop the policies in the branches. So it needs to set the branches up as quickly as possible. We also need communications lines organising as quickly as possible so that the CEC can communicate with the regions with the branches with the members, and the members back up to the CEC. I think some of the first things that we need to do as a CEC is organise the branches to establish visibility and recruitment. We need to let the public know that we exist and how they can join us. We need to develop the policies, the members develop the policies, so the public know what we stand for and that our policies benefit the communities. And we need to make arrangements for selecting candidates for the elections.
I think we need to share the membership data and help the local branches to build or form in areas that haven't been formed already. We need to progress with openness, transparency. It needs to be member-led, and we need to keep an open mind and be flexible about it while we're still figuring things out. I feel like as a member of the CEC, I wouldn't need to know all the answers because I would be representing the views of the community that I'm representing. But things I won't compromise on. We need to be trustworthy, transparent, and make sure that we're accessible as much as possible.
Next is Jenny.
Hi, thank you. I've already spoken a little bit about my offers to the CEC, so I'll go slightly differently and say a bit more about how I see long-term the CEC development and my vision for it. I've already talked about transparency and communication, which I think are two things that are very closely linked, that we need to tell the members what's going on and not have all this hiding behind anonymity. That's that word, yeah, people who don't know who you are. Right, so the transparency and communication, got to be good communication internally and externally between ourselves. I'm saying we, because we're all also going to get elected at some point onto that, and between ourselves and the wider membership. And that's of course got to be two-way because they're supposed to be bottom up, not top down, so it needs coming to us as well as go out. I'd like to see a team built on consensus, not compromise, where everybody can agree by discussing things, and that is something I think the independents particularly will be very good at because we haven't got a slate, we've all got our own opinions, and I think you can see from the way we're working together here, that's how I will see it working around the table. Building unity, not division, making sure we're all together. The centre that leads and that can learn and can listen will be very important. So I think we're good. Thank you.
So founder principles, my first one is loyalty to socialism and not to any individual or faction. Obviously I'm a Bennite, so democratic socialism and what gets agreed in conference is paramount to me. The second one would be commitment to community activism, that includes trade union activism, and ensuring candidates that we choose are deep rooted within their community and not parachuted in from other areas. That's paramount for me. And then finally, the last one would be more compassion and empathy as a principle. I think we're socialists, and some of the skullduggery, and especially on social media, I've seen over the last 2 weeks, it's horrendous, it's bitter, and it's horrible. And that was really deepened by introducing slates in the first place. So while they might exist in like broader parties like Labour or even the unions where there's a definite like left and right, in a brand new party, come on, slates weren't needed. Individuals could have endorsed people on their own merit, but applying slates, it was horrendous, and it deepened what Zara and Corbyn are already battling. So I think that is absolutely horrendous, and it's put independents like us on the back foot. Thank you.
Okay, I think really it's democracy that's central to this. A one member, one vote is very central to the whole founding principles. One member, one vote, and no one's vote counts more than anyone else's, and it's bottom up. And it's very different to any party that's ever existed in this country. And I really feel there's going to be lots of blips en route, if not volcanic bursts, but because it's a really, I think it was Corbyn who said there's no book about building a party like this, and it's an amazing and big thing that we're doing, but it is all about one member, one vote, and the CEC's role is just to make sure that what the people who do the one votes want to happen, not for them to impose anything really. And I think the first things that the CEC has to do urgently is to make sure the branches are set up and all the legal things are put in place and everything's in order, funding the branches and giving them promotional material, training people in the branches, ensuring inclusivity and different access to things within branches, and ensuring that it is member-led. Yes, there's preparing for local elections, and there has to be unity on the CEC, and I think members like ourselves might be very instrumental because we can't have warring factions. We have to bring together the various slates and the people on the CEC.
There's been too much disagreement within your party, so I think the principles that we should be thinking about are around about 80% of things that we as socialists agree on. My own view is that we should immediately have principles that say we're going to deal with the inequality crisis that's right for the last 40 years, that will immediately address the cost of living crisis, will end privatisation of our welfare services and renationalise our utilities and services, will do so without compensation. We're for welfare, not warfare. We're for opposition to all oppression. We're for a Green New Deal which will deal with environmental crisis and also create green jobs. We're against standard authoritarianism and attacking our civil liberties, and we're for the immediate repealing of all anti-trade union legislation. We do that within a party which is democratic, accountable and insurgent, and is a party for all socialists. I don't care if you're in another party or not, this should be a party for all socialists of all colorations. And we do that from a party which is rooted in social movements and trade unions in our communities. And in that way, we are accountable, and we are a party that is led by members and based in our branches and our activists.
Question 3. What role should the trade unions play in your party, and how do you plan to engage with them, if at all? And the order is Ron, Helen, Michael, Kiara, Jenny, Sam, Sue. So, Ron, do you want to repeat the question? What role should the trade unions play in your party, and how do you plan to engage with them, if at all?
Yeah, I think the unions have a lot to play in the party, a large part. The unions represent working class people. Your party should be representing working class people as well. I'd like to see somebody who've already been negotiating with the unions to develop a relationship whereby we can perhaps share some office space. Regional offices are going to be needed when we set up the CEC. And I would like to think that we could get some office space that was shared with the unions. I'd like to also see my own union unite, disaffiliate from Labour. I'd love to see them affiliate with your party, but I don't know whether that's going to happen anytime soon. But with Andrea Egan having been elected as General Secretary of Unison, perhaps Unison has more of a likelihood of disaffiliating from Labour. Generally, I'd like to see the unions and your party working hand in hand.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say we won't without a proper casualty, but yeah. So essentially, unions are a vital democratic force in securing fair pay, safe working conditions and dignity at work. And we should, as a party, be engaging with unions as active trade union members. You know, it's not a matter of helping them, it's a matter of working with them actively. I think policy-wise, we can look to strengthen collective bargaining, provide trade union freedoms, and ensure workers' rights essential to economic and workplace decision-making, as always should be. But as well, with the disaffiliating from Labour, that comes from members too. So it's about actively being part of that conversation. You know, workers' rights are the foundation to abolishing capitalism, essentially, aren't they? And when people are secure within building, they will be secure to building the bigger picture too.
Michael?
Quick to look at them in the question, just forget where I am in the running order. That's the goal. In terms of the trade unions have always played a vital role in the working class movement in Britain, of course, and they should play as big a role as possible within your party. You know, there's already a number of unions who aren't affiliated to the Labour Party. That didn't used to be, you know, but we think of RMT, we think about the Bakers Union, one of the first to affiliate to the Labour Party historically, but they're not affiliated. There's UCU. They all have political funds, but they're not affiliated to the Labour Party. We should be looking to access those things. We should be showing a sympathetic approach to the unions by immediately abolishing the anti-trade union legislation. We should call for an inquiry over Orkney and some of the horrors that happened in the past to show that we are a sound trade union orientated organisation. But we must also encourage actively every member of your party to be an active member of the trade union, and that your party members should become to be seen, in my opinion, the people that you go to. If you've got a problem with what you go to your shop steward, that they should be a your party member. If you've got a demonstration coming out of town, then the people that you go to should be the your party people. If there's a coach going to a demonstration in London, it's the your party people that are organising it. We have got to be the activists in communities and social movements and in our unions.
Yes, I think we need, for a people movement, we need everybody in every community, every group, every union. Last year I found myself in Dempsey, and they did want to talk about transport, but I managed to, they were asking if Labour were doing a good job. So I said the only thing Labour have done a good job of is funneling money to their friends who are spending it on war and genocide. And they did draw me back to, but is there a question about transport? And I basically said, well, with all the money that they're spending on war, what's it going to take for unions to disaffiliate? And Eddie very proudly said that the RMT are not affiliated with the Labour Party, and that the Labour Party have been part of the problem for the last 40 years. So I do feel like we need to engage with the unions who have been disempowered over the years. So like what some of my colleagues here have said, I think if we join the unions en masse and then become very proactive as well and help them to vote the right way. Okay.
Okay, another really good question. I think it should be remembered that the Labour Party originally formed as a political wing of the trade union movement. They seem to have forgotten that over the last 40 years, so I think it might be a good time to go out and remind them. Unions have always been the bedrock of working people's organisation, but the way I would see it is not so much coming from the top down. I suppose that the CEC will have to be in talks with the top people in the unions, but I'd like to see the branches working with their local trade union branches on particular campaigns that affect people locally. And I think that could be a good way forward, so that the people at the bottom are going to push a bit of pressure on the people at the top to actually do the right thing and join us. And I like Ron's ideas about them helping us to establish places where we can go and meet, which is a really good idea. There is provision in the founding documents exploring trade union memberships and our relationships with it. But I would say no block votes, because that's one of the reasons that we haven't got the Labour government from Corbyn that we wanted, because we didn't have the block vote. We want individual people there, one member, one vote, one union, one vote. I don't know quite how it's going to work, but I'm sure we'll think of something. All right, thanks very much.
Sam?
I think Jenny stole a bit of me from there. Yeah, I'm a massive advocate as well for one member, one vote. And it was I would advocate for some union reform. It was due to a union vote parliamentary election, one of Corbyn's biggest mistakes, didn't go through, and therefore we didn't have a way of getting rid of some of the MPs that we probably would like to see the back of. That was my biggest issue with unions. Everything else about unions, however, I agree largely with. I'd actively reach out to trade unions and trade councils to explore opportunities for affiliation. I know some of the smaller ones that are disaffiliated or that don't affiliate with Labour, like the FBU, the Bakers Union, POA, and the RMT, trying to persuade them to consider affiliating. But with the shit show that's going on, I'm not sure that they're going to be impressed with it. And so I think we need to kind of turn that round so that they are more supportive of your party. Electing a dedicated trade union liaison officer to all branches when they eventually do happen, it's crucial. I know our last one was a big lefty, and he did do a lot for us in Garston. Let's get on the picket lines and enable some community campaigns in communities. Thank you.
I think what role the trade unions have, we keep thinking it's about our politics, and of course if we're members of the CEC, it's not about our politics. I think the members will have to decide what role the trade unions play. So maybe the CEC's role is to get those conferences or decision-making processes set up quickly and properly, because we could do to be working with the unions. Our local Your Party group's already working with unions on the ground, so I definitely think branches on the ground should be working with trades councils and we've just been doing the whole picket line thing with a local school against artificial teaching and what have you. They're teaching all their maths by artificial stuff. But it's the members that are going to decide these things. Our politics, in some ways, we have one vote each on the CEC about policy. We're not driving policy, we're enabling people and giving them the room and the opportunities to decide policies. I agree strongly with what I think a couple of people have said. We maybe should think again about the members voting on. Personally, I think all members who are eligible should be in a trade union. We should all be in trade unions if we're a member of this party, but that's not for me or the CEC to decide, it's for the members on the ground, because we're a party about one member and one vote.
Okay, this is actually another union question because we did have quite a few on unions, so I've tried to kind of put them together and see them. So question 4, are you in a union as an active member? So do you hold an officer or other position? And if not, how specifically have you supported the unions? So I want specifics here. I'll ask the question again. Are you in a union as an active member, an officer or other position holder? And if not, how specifically have you supported the unions? Starting with Sue, so you've got the microphone already.
Hi, I have been in 2 trade unions in my life. I mainly spent my life in education, and I was an active, very active member of the NUT throughout. I was a rep of schools, at several different schools, and very engaged and supported colleagues when they had stuff going on, and joined in any activities that the NUT was doing. I then, when I finished teaching, I was a member of Unison, and I was also very active there. I am now a retired member of Unison, which I'm not terribly active at the moment, but I'm aware of what's going on, and I join in when I need to, and I want to, and I can. Okay.
I joined Unite in 2020, I think it was, because I think that some people saw me potentially as a councillor, and I needed to be part of a union. And whilst I didn't agree to stand, I joined a union while I thought about it, and then I wasn't very active at all. And then COVID happened, and all the work that I've been doing, I've been very active and I've campaigned, but not necessarily with the unions. I've been invited to some meetings because I've met friends from the Liverpool Unite branch who have, introduced me to the meetings. And just a few days ago, I managed to catch up with the Wirral one as well. And they haven't been active since April because membership was really low. So what I have said is I'm going to try and help invite more people to join the membership, the unions, and also to attend meetings so that we can get more active. I do apologise, I haven't been more active in unions. I'm not really from a political and union background, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because I think with my fresh pair of eyes, I might just, think of doing things differently and, getting more people engaged.
So yeah, the previous union was the POA, which is the Prison Officers Association. I used to represent them as I used to work in the mental health nursing unit, but it was a secure unit, so that they covered that space as well. I became a health and safety rep with them, and I helped someone one of the nurses who nearly got killed on shift. So I represented our tribunal and stuff. So that's like my involvement on the ground in the workplace. But I also I'm on picket line, so I was at a lot of the Save the Guard with the RMT. I've been on the BMA demos. I've marched in London with Alice and other colleagues. I also sit on Merseyside Fire and Rescue Authority, and we've had some success by working with like-minded councillors. One is actually from the Green Party, to stop the attempt to reduce the fire appliances and the fire engines, so that was quite successful. They had to change the CRMP, and I don't think the Labour group were particularly happy with us, because they voted all of this through, but they couldn't on that occasion. So yeah, I'm quite rounded with the trade unions in each aspect. I will be rejoining Unite again, because I've changed my place of work now, so I'm looking forward to getting more involved with that. Okay, I'll leave it there. I've only got 3 seconds.
So I'm a member of Unison. I'm a frontline healthcare worker and a psychotherapist, and that is a sector that is really affected by cuts and privatisation and outsourcing, which is a direct detriment to workers' rights. I first started organising with Unison. I'd always supported picket lines. I always say I left my heart on a picket line. I left my heart on the picket line. I'd always deeply admired the pragmatism of my organiser comrades, but I had got a little bit more of an idea of how that works on the ground. In 2022, when I started building with Organise Now, with great success actually, our membership shot up. I was really proud of that. I was really proud of how everybody came together. And yeah, I still think I'm a complete novice at organising. I'm a product of the comrades that I admire, but that sort of taught me that this really is a communal effort, and how much power actually is that, and how much our different skill sets complement each other. As I said, I've always supported picket lines and been really, really ignited by them. I also have a bit of a background in the tenants union, which I always forget because weirdly, even though I was so active in it, because it doesn't really correlate in my brain as the same as a workplace union. But that was a real demonstration in utilising community resources. So yeah, and I'm really time.
Very good, thank you. Ron. Health and safety.
Thank you. Up until a couple of months ago, I was branch secretary, I'm now still on the executive of Unite Community Lancashire. I've been on cost of living campaigns, I've been on Palestine rallies, NHS campaigns, and energy campaigns. My union has a campaign at the moment called Unite for Energy for All, and its first demand is to provide a free amount of energy to cover basic needs of a household. Our branch is proud of having set up a socialist library. This is located in the Preston Unite office, and I'm a member of Merseyside Pensioners Association, and we have donated the book Fraud to our socialist library, and I'm going to donate that myself on the 28th of February, where I'm leading a discussion in the socialist library on Your Party.
Okay, so I was a trade unionist all my working life. In 1987, I was victimised in Grantham Regional Council. I was an algo shop steward at the time, and I lost my job. I went back and did a PhD. I then went into the university sector as a member of NATFE, then the AUT, latterly UCU. At various different points, I was in branch committees doing various jobs throughout those times. I'm currently a retired member of UCU. But I do have a union card here, which is the proudest thing I might have, which is an honorary member of the General Union of Palestinian Writers, which I was given a couple of years ago. The only other thing, I suppose, in terms of that was that I was also involved in setting up something called SWAN, which is the Social Work Action Network, which is a combination of service users, academic students, and workers, frontline workers within Unison at the time, both in Britain, and then during COVID, that became SWAN I, which was an international network pulling together activists from across the globe to campaign against privatisation and its impact on service users and communities and workers in the front line in the job that they were doing.
I've never been really actively involved in unions. I did used to be in the NUT, but I wasn't particularly political at that time in my life. I think nowadays I would be 100%, but I'm retired. So, but I've always supported unions, right back from my granddad, who led a union strike in the Merchant Navy and got jailed in New York for it, so the family election goes. So I've always been like, hey, unions. They're such an important part of the working class life, and it's so important. So I'm sorry that I've not been done. I'm not PR. I haven't had much opportunity of doing it. But that doesn't mean to say that I wouldn't support unions all the way, and I'm very admiring of all the people on this table who are doing that and who are involved. I'd just like to say about trade union laws that, I'll get that in here, that I think quite a lot of them should be repealed. People should always have the right to strike, no matter what their industry. People should have the right to picket, no matter what their industry. And I think people who break picket lines are really not good people to do that, because if we don't stick together, then what's the point of us? So I think that's really all I can say about that, because I can't speak from that point of view. So thank you for listening.
I'm going to ask a supplementary question, which is relevant to this. So, those of you in branches, do your branches endorse your candidacy? And if you're not in a branch, are you going to join your local branch and seek that endorsement? Starting just with Sam, anyway.
Well, you mean change your branch?
Yeah.
So in my last appointment, I was in Ashworth branch with the POA. They're not affiliated to Labour, so and again, we haven't been rectified as a proper CEC yet. So I don't know. I'm not in that branch anymore, so I wouldn't be able to tell you whether they would endorse me. Possibly not. Not because of me, but because of the affiliation to a party that hasn't been created properly yet. But in terms of Unite, I hope that I've done a lot for Unite over the years, and I hope that Union Branch would, but again, they're affiliated to Labour and whether we can move from them, leaving that affiliation or disaffiliating and joining the Labour Party. The Your Party, sorry.
So, no, not at present. It's not something that I've really thought about, to be honest. I can't imagine because Jameson still have an affiliation to Labour, which is where to put out to try and get that disaffiliated, try to build members against that possibly. But I've not really thought about it. But regardless, I think I would stay proactive in both on the basis of shared values.
Right, it's a little bit of a non-question for me because I'm not in the union, therefore can't be endorsed by any branch. But if I was in the union, and I would probably be asking them, provided that they were interested in your party and not just, people.
I'm only part of the community one, so I don't even get a vote on things, from what I understand. And with having just joined the Wirral branch, we would need to build the branch up more. I
But that won't be the case with CEC.
Complexity of it that we are going to have to navigate and make that judgment on. So thank you. So question 5 now. Just a couple of questions left and then I've got some from the floor. So So if you need a break, take a break when you need it, because we will probably be finished by 8:30, I should think. Okay, so question 5. What community activism have you participated in? Please be specific. Yeah.
Community, I thought it there.
Yeah. What
Community
community
activism.
activism have you participated in? Please be specific. I don't want weasel words.
There's just so many. There are things that I've done, like I've worked with the mosques, and they are predominantly run by men. Not that they're not welcoming women, but sometimes the women feel like they're not welcome because there isn't a female presence. So I've done things like spoken with the committee and said, this is what the ladies need, this is what the youth need. Would it be okay if we do this? I think I can get funding and I can lead on it as well. And they're happy with that. And I've done things like that so many times that 2.5 years later, in the Shah Jalal Mosque, which is the bigger mosque in the Wirral, I think some people think I'm the manager of the mosque. And the women are welcome and the children are welcome, the whole community is welcome. So, and I've done that really gently. You know, it wasn't like a demand, this is what the community needs. In their defense, there's lots of people who are traditionalists. You know, they just haven't had the skills or didn't know how to engage with the wider community. And I've come along and as I said, this is what I can do. And I've done that with so many different organizations, and I've brought different communities together, different organizations together who have traditionally competed for funding. You know, with me in the mix, there's a lot of trust.
Ron, to surprise now. Ron.
Thanks very much. Pleasant surprise. Yeah, I've just been trying to note down some of the community groups that I'm involved with. Friends of Tord Valley, it's an ecological group. The River Tord runs through Skelmersdale, and we prize the Tord Valley as a jewel in our crown. I'm a member of West Lancs Climate Action Group. I'm the chair of the local Skelmersdale U3A. I'm a member of Skelmersdale Community Energy Group and a friend of Skelmersdale Library. In the U3A we have a book group, and it's there because we want to keep the library going. It's one of the only public facilities that we have in Skelmersdale. And so we borrow the books from the library. I think that's about all I managed to note.
So crucially, before I start, I want to say I have supported community activism because I think it's not about me, you know, the community and what we build. Our communities are the bare bones of activism. And I kind of feel a bit discombobulated, to be honest, because there's so much that I could say, and that isn't, like, again, bigging myself up. It's just the opportunities I've been really grateful to be part of and building. I guess I made my bones in Action for Homelessness, as it's now called. We were the 18th Street team back in the day. I see Pricey nodding because we linked up with some groups in Birmingham to then run a campaign that was against hostile architecture and hostile homelessness policies. I'm running a part of an initiative to getting supporting them with their ecological assessments. I during created a mutual aid network, and I'm a part of the Liverpool Sisterhood, big up, and we run like community-led International Women's Day celebrations every year. I've done things like the anti-raids workshops, and yeah, I can see but yeah, my well, but it's just in time.
So I suppose maybe like Sam, being a councillor, different angle. I was also involved in a cycling pro impressive program with cycling and involved in teaching young people to cycle.
So yeah, as Michael said, a lot of my campaigning revolved around the casework because I have got little time for like other campaigns. I do try and get to them, but a lot of it's focused within the area I represent. Yeah, as a youth officer under Corbyn, I'm really inspired by Corbyn. He infused a lot of young people and brought countless young people into our branch. And I ended up becoming a youth officer with 7 people in this room actually sat on our CLP. But I became a young person and we were able to fund trips to European Union and UK Parliament. And that was so inspiring because obviously Corbyn's vision brought a lot of young people in. And the Labour Party just aren't doing that now, but I feel like Your Party, I've got that opportunity. But yet locally, I've run campaigns against Veolia and Peloton, which have health implications on the local population. We've actually been able to reverse plan applications against legal advice, which is a brilliant for the city. Pothole campaign, the CAB campaign that we've got currently. I was co-founder of a local food pantry, which is thriving. Free school uniform campaigns with Alice, toy drives, ensuring that all local children within Garston get at least 5 toys, coffee mornings, surgeries in local parks, and I've been a huge advocate for SEN kids and especially within academisation, failing for the EHCPs.
Right, I'm afraid I'm going to be one of the mealy-mouthed answers here because I haven't done much recently because I've been so disillusioned with politics and I sort of opted out for several years when I left the Labour Party. Then we had COVID and then I moved house. But since Your Party came along, I'm feeling quite energised again. So I'm trying to get myself involved against in community activities and I went to the launch of the Women Against the Far Right in Manchester at the weekend. They're going to have some exciting activities going ahead, and also a similar thing, the Together Alliance, which are organising the big march in London. I think Sue referred to it earlier, on March 28th, I believe. So I'm trying to get back into it. One thing I did do, I remember a long time ago, one of my first activisms was when I was in school in the 6th form, and that is a long time ago, when I ran a campaign to ban seal clubbing, which I thought was cruel and horrible. So that was my first thing that I did, and I was quite successful with that. I said, test people, but that's a long time ago. More recently, I've been involved with, before I moved here, with my CLP as was then, with the Women's Forum, and we did quite a bit of activity around things like period poverty, school uniforms, an organisation called Smalls for All. And now I have a community garden. I'm a chair.
Hi there. I volunteer at a local food bank, not as much as perhaps I should, but I do volunteer at a local food bank, more to self-indulge myself because I quite enjoy it. I don't know if I can count the local vigil for Palestine as community action. It feels like community action. So there are 3 vigils near where I live. They're not all in the northwest though. One's in Todmorden, one's in Hebden, and one is at Rotten Stall. And I get to as many as I can. I'm chair of a group which is Pals of Palestine. And we do a lot of demonstrations and trying to get the message out there. But we've also, I think, raised about 10 grand in the last year, which we've sent to Medical Aid for Palestine. With local asylum seekers, or I know local asylum seekers, but it's a bit of an exaggeration because actually 6 of them live next door to me. So I help them more as individuals, really. I don't know if that's community action. I was part of a local group which stopped, and we actually succeeded in stopping a horrible waste disposal centre that we were going to put right in the middle of my community. Over a while, I've done about 500, I also do some psychotherapy, and I've done about 500 hours free therapy at mine. Local picket lines for the local school. A school I taught at many years ago, where I mentioned before, they're having AI teachers, and they won that. And then when I was on the council, I did
Just have to make sure everyone has the same amount of time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thanks for bearing with us. Okay, so if elected, what do you think the local priority should be, and how will you ensure member participation in decision making? And that's to Ron first. If elected, what do you think the local priority should be, and how will you ensure member participation in decision making? Ron.
Thanks very much. I think we've almost covered this before. I think
If
this.
you move on, I'm happy to move on. Are you happy to move on? If you think you've covered it. Sorry to the person who said that I only
We think local priorities are very important.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to just go to the last question that was sent in, and then I'll go to the ones that we have. Then if you've written a question tonight on the slip of paper, can you make sure I have it? Does anyone have one that they haven't given to me? Okay, so question 8. What is the importance of Palestine in your party activism? To Yara, first of all. What is the importance of Palestine in your party activism?
It is crucially important. I feel like anybody who hasn't spoken up for Palestine now, I wouldn't trust them myself actually. I know people are in difficult positions with their jobs and things, but I'm so disappointed in the councillors, the MPs who have remained silent or only offered platitudes. If they don't have the courage to speak up for Palestine and the obvious atrocities, the genocide, the massacre that's happening, I don't think they will have the courage to stand up for us when the council cut funds and services. So I think our fate is inextricably linked to the Palestinians' liberation and freedom.
I think that your party is a party of the working class, and working class struggle is an international thing. We, as a country, seem to be focusing, well, Starmer seems to be focusing on an economy based on war, and it's not right. We should be prioritising welfare, not warfare. Our cost of living is an issue that is raised more and more because more money is spent on warfare than it's spent on social services. And I think in terms of the main example of the issue of our international struggle should be Palestine at the moment. And it is the priority of all of us in the working class to support our Palestinian comrades.
So yeah, supporting Palestine is the benchmark for me. It's the minimum we can do really as socialists. I am an internationalist and it's key to support not just Palestine but other international issues. As LCI, our previous group that we formed into Your Party afterwards, we've been on every single march, either one of us, since its inception. Now, the reason why I had a rocky road with the Labour Party was he suspended me 3 times on fake claims of anti-Semitism. So it shows our principle down, I'm trying to say, against all of the times that the group whip told me to resign from the party. You know, it's something that I'm really passionate about as a youngish Arab. I would say that Palestine is the minimum. Just supporting Palestine is the minimum, and as Piara said, you know, I wouldn't trust anyone who doesn't support the Palestine campaign. They shouldn't be in this party or any left-wing party.
So, yeah, pretty much echoing everybody else's words really. It's central, it's the bare minimum to be opposed to genocide and to be living opposition as well, not just passing platitudes. Genocide shouldn't be happening, obviously, but that shouldn't be controversial to state that. And as well, like, why should these atrocities be used as a division for our class? It's the absolute bare minimum to oppose what is going on and to stand with the Palestinian people.
Well, I can't really add much more to that, really, because, right, if you don't support the Palestinians, what is the point of us as socialists? It's crucially important, as Piara said, it's the bare minimum, as Helen just said. The whole issue has highlighted the injustice across the world, the horrors of imperialism, colonialism and genocide. I think people of my generation haven't quite realised this, but now we've woken up to it, a bit late, but better late than never. I totally agree with what Piara said. How can you trust people who are supporting genocide? And what one said about welfare, not warfare. How can we justify building weapons to kill Palestinian children while our own children go hungry? What a nonsense that is. It's revealed the ugly face of capitalism, and I think it's absolutely disgusting, and we are all Palestine.
The last 2.5 years, we've seen the most remarkable social movement in this country, and I think historians will write about the last 2.5 years and the way in which they write about the Chartists, the suffragettes, and the great miners' dispute of 84, 85. And like all those great social movements, it has fundamentally changed people's attitudes. If you think back to more than 2.5 years ago, it wasn't the case that the majority of people in this country wanted to isolate Israel and stop selling them weapons, but yet that is the case now. And from very early on in this campaign, the vast majority of people wanted an immediate ceasefire. And we brought the political establishment on this. They are now completely out of sync with what ordinary people think. So I think it's very important that we recognise that. And the second thing that we recognise is that that movement gave birth to the biggest left of Labour challenge at any general election, at the general election 2 years ago. Because not only did we get 5 independents in, the best result for a left of Labour at the polls, But there were a whole raft of people who got seconds and thirds with really very, very high results at those elections. So that was the best left of Labour electoral results we had ever had. So of course, your party must be embedded in the Palestine movement. Palestine needs to be absolutely central to what your party is about. But more generally, so should anti-imperialism, because for 25 years in this country, our government and the American government have wreaked havoc right across the Middle East, and we have got a huge responsibility historically in terms of the setting up of those countries, but over the last 25 years, the destruction that we've caused. And the final thing to say is that the main enemy has always been at home, and the best thing that we can do for the Palestinians is to do our ruling class here.
Right, follow that, anybody? It's central because it's that very simplistic thing in Germany or anyone else with fascism or genocide, whatever we call it, and oppression. You know, don't let's fool ourselves. If we let it happen somewhere else, it comes here. As a half civilized country, there's no way we should be selling arms like this and supporting a genocide. I mean, I was involved in the shut down Elbit campaign in Oldham from week one, when we didn't even know what they did in those factories. And I can remember me and Wackas and AD and a few other people, and we discovered what they did. It happened over a long period, and yes, we were there every week and we shut it down, but with the help of course, the Palestine Action people. No, I'm a bit old, I was not on a roof and I wasn't throwing paint about, but we got that one shut. But of course they learn, don't they? And if we don't stand up bigger and stronger, we shut that Elbit factory down, and now we all see what's happened since, and how Elbit have managed to get the government on side. And if we don't stand up when, I was going to say when shit's happening, but if we don't stand up when shit's happening, it'll come around and fall on us eventually, is my take on it.
Okay, so 2 questions from the floor. Thanks for submitting those. And I'll just go, if you start with Michael, the mic is nearest to Mike on the line. This question is, what will you do to try and move away from the splits or perceived split caused by slaves and the popularity contest of endorsements?
No, sorry. Okay, so this is, if you think back 6 months ago, 800,000 people signed up for more information about your party. Fantastic. And then there was a fight, and then 55,000 people signed up. The biggest left of Labour Party sign up, bigger than the Communist Party ever, bigger than the Independent Labour Party at the time, which was 37,000. So 55,000 was okay, but what a disappointment from 800,000. And then if you look at the endorsements, there was only 11,000 people voted because there have been more splits, more fights, more arguments. So we need to finish this. How do we finish this? I think we finish this by looking outwards. Stop navel gazing, stop internal fighting, but look outwards. What I mean by that is, let's think about the things when we march together, because when we go to the Palestine demonstrations in Liverpool and Manchester and London, we don't sit and have a fight with each other, we're on the same side, marching together for the same objective. So let's think about it. We've got March the 28th, all together against racism. We've got the Nakba demonstration on the 16th of May. We've got the mass conference in London on the 24th of June against war across Europe, which is bringing trade unions from across Europe into London. We should be fighting together around those things, and then in unity and action, will overcome the divisions that we have got by focusing too much on internal splitting.
Thanks a lot. I'd like to think I'm a strategic thinker and an organiser. That's why I'm standing for the CEC. The CEC is not for organising, developing policy. It's to get members organised so that they can develop policy. What we need to do is be able to set up our branches, get active in the communities, and get our members active. We need the party completely up and running, and we need to make a difference in our communities and for the ordinary households.
What will you do to try and move away from the splits or perceived charity contest of endorsements. Sue.
I think standing with the CEC for one thing, I just don't believe the splits that there are. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Ron said. By joining the CEC and working really hard, let's get it up properly and thoroughly running in the best possible way it can. That's the role of the CEC. And my thinking is, I was actually sortitioned with 2 comrades to go to the conference. It was uplifting. And it is a whole new idea for people from the bottom. And, you know, if it gets up and running, then and I think for us lot on this bench, we should stay in and stay fighting, because no one should get away with an election like this as unequal ever again. And I can see how it's happened by accident. I think Jeremy said there's no book about building a party. And somehow we've got people with, you know, we are sitting at home with no data, no funds. How do we find people? How do we do anything? Nothing, you know, and yet there are 2 huge slates. And I've had messages from both slates asking me to vote for people with my name on it. So there's something very wrong with data. So I think, you know, we've really got to get it all, well, if it won't be us, maybe because of the slates, I think we ask people not to vote for the slates, really. You know, and I have the greatest respect for both Zara and Jeremy, but we can't do this fighting. We've got to stop it.
Thank you. So I'm determined to make this work because I know just how badly we need it. Yesterday I posted on Facebook, I gave some special mentions to 4 people on and off the slate because I'm just going with the flow. It's new to us, but I can see the positives in it. I, for one, at conference did vote for single leadership, and then we voted for collective leadership, and now I'm sitting here. See how adaptable I am. So I can see that we can make it work. What we need to do is elect the peacemakers and the people who bring people together. So hopefully amongst us, we'll pick enough of those. Thank you.
Right. I'm going to have a video aid in a minute, so who's going to hold the microphone for me? Right, but I just feel like working with the independents, sitting up here with all these fine people, it's like being with the grown-ups in the room, isn't it? We're neither belligerent nor patronising, we could just work together. So here's as it's been requested, my visual aid. Here we have a piece of cloth. It's wonderful colours, it's bright, it's cheerful, it's full of goodness, but it's a bit floppy and useless at the moment. So I'm going to tie it in a knot. Now, I don't really want to say what the ends of the knot represent and that my feeling by tying them together is, but I think I can leave that to you to decide. I'm just going to do it. Right, now we have a CEC. We have got a little loop that we can start working with. Well, it's a bit useless as it is. We need to get the structures built. We need to work together to build the structures. And here we have our structures. That's crazy. That's about as far as I can get rid of it. But if any part of that structure crumbles, the whole thing crumbles. And we're left, if I can do it this long enough, there we are, with a very pretty, but ultimately useless, floppy piece of pie. Hang on with it, for goodness sake.
Feel free to
teamwork is agreement. And I guess, yeah, just to echo that a little bit, I do think we need to prioritise a structure that's inclusive party. I also think with maybe but strangely that conflict resolution and simultaneously challenging things that we're not okay with, which is actually part of conflict resolution, is vital. I kind of think we're all used under capitalism to fighting to get our words into, fighting to be heard. This should be a space where all of us are heard, so we need to create policy and structure that aren't hostile, do enable that, and collectivise our skills. And isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I've been in mourning since 2019. What happened to Corbyn was horrendous, and I've never got over that really. So when Jeremy and Zara came together, I thought, what a fantastic opportunity, you know, an intergenerational, multicultural duo that is inspiring both young people and older people alike. I thought, this is such an amazing opportunity, but obviously people behind the scenes have got in the way of that, and it's become dog on dog, egotistical, and it's just really upsetting. Upsetting to the fact that it does get me emotional, both angry but also upset. You know, we had 700,000 sign-ups within the first week, and as Michael said, 55 members resulted from that because of this internal fighting. It's a travesty, and on the CEC doing everything in my power to prevent that. And if that means getting rid of those behind the scenes, I'll tell them to pack the bags, and I'm sure other independents will as well, because they're not needed. It's a members' party. It should be about the membership and not about data fighting. You know, it's completely horrendous. Thank you.
So, the final question, and then you'll all have a chance to come up in 60 seconds. So we have a member in the room who applied to be on this panel, panel of candidates, actually wasn't put forward, wasn't actually put through the process, and has had no answer from the party. Now we would have the answer here. Obviously we don't know what's happened, but the member wants to know about his exclusion. Do you agree this process is fair or democratic? What would you choose?
That wasn't the question.
That's the
No, it's not. There are two questions. The first question
we
is.
can't answer.
No, ask the
Ian,
question.
I'll cover it because I know a bit about it. So yeah. Okay. In this case, someone had registered to stand for the CEC. He didn't get. He got an acknowledgement email to say he would be on the panel. Subsequently, I've seen the screenshot. Subsequently, he wasn't informed that he wasn't on the panel. So when the endorsement people had come up and appeared on the Your Party site, he wasn't on there. He's been raising this question to those behind Your Party every day by the sounds of it, and he's got no answer. I thought it was a bit of an injustice not being able to know why. If there was a reason, fair enough, but at least let that candidate know why. And it's things like that that really anger me. Another one of the things that I don't like about the process was that both slates had time for the official hostings. They had time to put on 5 events, the other slate 7 events regionally, and we didn't have that as independents. They had much more, say in their events, and we didn't get that. So we had to put this on very short notice. And I know with the official hostings, that was extremely short notice that one candidate, she's beside me now, couldn't even attend in person. And I know people from both slates felt the same, but it was in part largely in favour of one slate, which I completely disagree with. So there is things that we need to address, and being elected on the CEC, I think we should address them, because I'm not for any slate. I'm for fairness, ultimately.
I'm going to read your question exactly, but you can understand why it can't be answered. One, do you know why I was excluded? Two, if you don't know why I was excluded, do you agree this process is not fair or democratic? And so she gets to have no answer. But you can speak.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, and I'm really sorry for you. That's a massive injustice. I absolutely think there should be transparency as a bare minimum, and people getting informed of the steps. Not to deflect from your situation, it must be really, really stressful and anxiety provoking. But I guess just to offer a little bit of solidarity. Like Sam has just said, that there was issues around communication for the official musters. I work in frontline healthcare. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend in person. And I think that worried me. The aspect of there not being a way for me to communicate, that was worrying, because I thought that would, impact voters. How are they going to know? For all that knew, I just couldn't be bothered, which isn't the case at all. But I think I would want that level of transparency from a representative, So yeah, absolutely, without knowing the ins and outs, there should have been some communication, and I'm sorry that you've been impacted.
And your answer is the process for
Not well. That was the
Yes or
sign,
no?
no. Well,
I'll
That's
check.
all.
I want to ask it first, is the process fair and democratic? It's supposed to be. Is it in practice? Probably not. There's been all sorts of things going on. People have been, like yourself, not getting an answer when you should be getting an answer. That's out of order. I know the candidates who did make it onto the ballot have asked questions that have not been answered, or been answered late, or whatever. I know some people have been banned and completely got derailed in this region because she was accused of being a dual member when we shouldn't be dual members yet. And that completely derailed her. She was being an exceptional candidate. So I think that's completely out of order. The fact that they must have known all along that we were going to have a hustings last weekend, so why they couldn't ask us to keep that time free, I don't know. I could go on,
I only
but
want to
that's fine.
No, I don't think that was fair, especially if they didn't communicate why. And it's already been said by Jenny and Sam, the process hasn't been fair because we have been disadvantaged by the fact that they're slates and they have been endorsed by Zara and Jeremy, and obviously they have access to their own socials and things like that. But I do love the way that we're fighting back anyway.
Absolutely not fair, but I think what's happened to yourself is extreme. But equally, there hasn't been anyone for any of us to ask questions to and expect an answer at any point. You'd never know what was happening next, or what the next bit of the process was, or how it would be. So, or what's happened to you is terrible. But the same thing in little bits has happened all the way through to me and everyone I know, I think.
So is this process fair?
No, not at all.
No, that's the answer.
Yeah, no, not at all. No directly. No clarity. No. Don't.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think we started off with founding documents. We didn't know who the authors of those documents were. There are a number of anonymous people behind the scenes, and it's not transparent, it's not inclusive, there's nobody accountable. We're a member-led party, and that should result in any member being able to be elected to the executive.
From the beginning, I think there's been a number of concerns around aspects of democracy. My own opinion is that I don't think partition's all that democratic, to be honest with you, because you're not accountable to any branch. People from Lancashire, some of them I know, and then talked about what happened to, and some of them disappeared. You wouldn't know. So I'm not in favour of partition, I'm in favour of branch representatives and people being accountable to branches and going back and all that way. When it came to conference, I was told the week before that because I didn't get submission and I was a councillor I could get in. And then I turned up at the conference and I was banned for the first morning because apparently I was going to storm the stage. I'm a 63-year-old man, that was never going to happen, especially if you were inside, but I did get in from the afternoon. I was then on and off, but then eventually on for the endorsements, that was fine. On Thursday night, I got a email like everybody else saying that any candidate for any positions can attend the hustings over the weekend, so I thought I was going to have to go to them all, because I'm standing in the public office holder section, so anyone in the country can vote for me, so I put aside all day Saturday and all day Sunday, wait for the email, and then I got an email, I didn't get an email, I just got the invite list for all the other hustings, in which I wasn't on it. So the letter said it's really important that we have the hustings before voting starts, because that's the only way that's democratic and fair. The hustings for the public office holders, Sam told me, I think, tonight, are going to be next Sunday, after most people have voted, because most people will vote tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So, of course, the whole process is not democratic and fair in that sense. I don't know the specific for your case, but as a general one, I don't think it's democratic and fair, and I think there has been huge barriers, particularly put up by those who are non-slated. There's been a lot of talk about parties within parties. I just want to say I've had several emails from Peace and Justice. I've never signed up to Peace and Justice myself, but it's interesting what counts to the party, what doesn't count to the party under dual membership.
So we're going to have 60 minutes.
60 minutes.
60
Majority summing up your position and why people should vote for you.
Some people in here will know that if you say 60 minutes, I probably could do that. But anyway, so 60 seconds is not going to offer, but look, what I'm standing for is the SIP programme that I put earlier on. I think we should be focusing on what unites us as your party. The 80% that we have in common around the cost of living, renationalisation, welfare, not warfare, the various demands that I put out together. And then for the 20% that we disagree, we have to create a safe space. There's nothing wrong with debate in a socialist organisation, but we create that safe space. And I'm standing under a public office holder because that's my vision of what your party should be. But it's also a party that is outward looking, that is insurgent, that is to the left of the Labour Party, that is rooted in our social movements, our communities and our trade unions, that is a kind of party that you're proud to be a member of, and that establishes itself in every working class community across this country, where there are the best people, the most active people fighting for our class. People know that they're in your party, and that's the kind of organisation that we need to be, and that's my vision. So I'm hoping that if I get on, I'll be a voice of unity, of let's focus on the outside world and let's build the party.
Hi there. I want to say if I'm elected, I don't want a job for life on the CEC. I'd like to become a member, a mentor to help the younger members, which are the future of our party. I'd like the CEC to understand really that we need to set up the structures, and part of the structures needs to be a publicity unit. We need to combat the multi-millionaire owned MSM and also get our positive socialist message out there. We need a training unit that takes young members and develops them and that allows them to take on roles in branches and candidacies for councils. The CEC shouldn't determine policy, but we understand that policies are going to be fixed within a certain number of categories. And I think cost of living, to finish.
Go on. Wait.
I need 30 seconds.
Have to be fair.
I would like people to appoint me, maybe, because I couldn't get anyone else to do it. But it's just so important, this. I do see this as last chance for us to have a decent party, electoral party. And if I'm elected, I'll give it my all. It matters too much. It's a last chance. But whoever gets elected to the CEC has to make sure that the founding principles are kept to. And already this idea of one member, one vote, and the grassroots is just being completely wiped away. And we must never again let this happen in this party and be whitewashed. the founding principles really matter. And who was running this, I think we need to find out, and we need to make sure that the CEC people elected make the staffers accountable. I don't know if anyone else read it, but apparently 5 ordinary members were sortitioned to oversee this election. Now, who were they? They didn't meet till the last week in January. What did they do? Who are they? How were they sortitioned?
I want to be on the CEC to help your party be the party we need it to be, as proper socialist party that is anti-austerity, anti-war. And I know that how much we need this because of the work that I've been doing in the community. I have been helping so many people at crisis point. I know that the charity sector have actually formed another layer of the statutory services while the council continue to make cuts to services. I think I'm always busy because they've done away with many of the one-stop shops and legal aid and things like that. So I've met a lot of people and there are many problems, and the only way to really help them is to tackle the problems at source, which are the policymakers. Thank you.
Okay, right. Well, you've all seen what we've had to say today, and if you want to know more about me, see my statement on the Your Party page, and I've got a Facebook page called Dedicated to Your Party, which has got some of my postings and some of my questionnaire things that we've been doing. I just want to say that take a chance to vote independence. Vote for the grown-ups in the room. Vote for the people who can all sit at this table and be all in agreement, even if we've got little bits and pieces that we're saying, well, we're not quite there. We can get around it. We can build that consensus. I think we, as independents, should all be very proud of our campaigns. I think we should be proud of our interactions with each other. And there's all sorts of things going on out there that we're supporting each other, which shows that we can all work together, no matter our differences. We can be comradely, more so than other people. I don't know which of us has most impressed you or which you think will represent us best, but I think we're all fabulous and I'd love anybody here to be on the CEC.
So this is like the worst question, isn't it? Because you've got to summarise. But yeah, if I were elected, I would be bolstering all the work that we've all done for years at the grassroots. And I've got to say, to have the opportunity, to actually be part of building policies that can enable that, it's been incredibly humbling. I've been very lucky to stand with these people, and yeah, like vote for me if you want, but if you don't want to, I won't be going anywhere until capitalism does, so yeah.
So if I'm elected, the key actions for me is what most members want, to constitute these branches and make sure that they're formalised, and they should be all set up within the first week, in my view, and fully funded and resourced by the end of the first month. The second action is elections. We need to see the demise of Reform and Labour equally, and we need to select candidates or pick out candidates that are really rooted within our communities. Those candidates with clear manifestos and those candidates that are helping local people. So we need to find those little leaders within our communities as soon as possible. And that's all I've got to say, really. But the last thing we need to address, and we've already talked about this a lot of the unfair processes that your party bureaucrats on both sides have initiated with it for this process. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much to the candidates. Thank you to the members of your party for turning up tonight. I hope it's given you some clarity about who you might consider voting for. If these are your candidates, you've heard what we think about the slates, but it's a free, open party. Vote for who you think is the best candidate.
In order.
Yeah. Not alphabetical.
No, not alphabetical.
So we will this meeting is now closed. Thank you. And the candidates possibly will be around for a few minutes if you want to meet with them. Okay, thank you so much.